Good evening, everybody. Today it's our AgileLAB OKRs and Agile webinar. Welcome. Today we have myself, Vladimir, my colleague Andy, and our manager in Germany, Nastasia. We all together going to talk about OKR cycles, roles, and latest trends in the OKR framework. So feel free to ask any questions you will have, and happy to have you here. So we see people keep joining us. So let's start.
So latest time the OKR become such a buzzword, and also in Agile world. And disregarding the fact that OKR is not new, like there is a new wave of popularity for the OKR. So that's the reason why we decided to refresh your memory on this like old framework and discuss together how it fits to the modern Agile tendencies. There are several topics we want to cover today. They are just quickly refresh your memory on what's the OKR as a goal setting framework and the structure of OKRs in general. We also want to share the main OKR trends from the previous year, what's popular, what's trending in OKR world right now. We want to touch the base on roles in OKRs, and particularly discuss a little bit the role of the OKR coach, which we assume is relevant to some of you. And we want to discuss where is the place of OKR frameworks in other like Agile scale frameworks and in model Agile world. Also, we will provide the list of our favorite materials for self-study or further study of the OKRs. So let's start. And first, let's review what's the OKR as a goal setting framework. So generally, as a lightweight model, we can describe almost any Agile and non-Agile organization as three layers from the higher level of portfolio, which answers the question why organization exists and why are we moving into this or that direction, to the product or program level, which answers the question what should be done now, to the domain experts, the team level, who can answer the question how can we do this or that the best way. And the problem we often run into is that the bigger organization is, the more difficult is to provide transparency and alignment between these layers of organization. It's difficult to maintain bottom to top transparency so that every team member doing something with his own hands understands how and to which value, to which why of organization he contributes at the moment. And at the same time, it's more and more difficult to provide transparency top to bottom for portfolio level, how this or that piece of work, task, software, like something, whatever we build, correlates with the level of the high level goals and why do we exist. And there is no one single universal answer in Agile world, in goal setting world, how to fix this problem. There are like different approaches formulated by different authors for different level of granularity and abstract of goal setting, from BHAG, which is another buzzword now, like big hairy audacious goal, to like company and team level OKRs. So the OKRs is one of the goal setting frameworks, or one of the approaches to provide alignment and transparency on the goal setting within the organization. And it's extremely simple and lightweight. The structure of the OKR, the language of the OKR is very simple. That's why it correlates with Agile values and Agile culture, because it's like lightweight and visual and transparent, as we like in Agile world. So it consists of just an objective, the direction, the directional goal, where we want to go, where we want to move. The key result or the measure which describes how we will understand that we are moving closer to our objective. This is like acronym for OKR, objectives and key results. But also you may sometimes meet acronyms OKRI, standing for objectives, key results, initiatives, or OKRA, objective, key results, actions, which adds tasks, actual to-dos, initiatives, actions linked to the objectives and key results. It's like as simple as that. The simplest way possible to formulate the goal, how can we understand that we achieve it, and what are we going to do to achieve that. And we can do it at every level of organization and share between levels of organizations, like from top to bottom and from bottom to top. Often then we have a question, why do we need OKRs if we already have the KPIs? There is no short answer, but the long answer is that we need both systems because they are different and serve different goals. The main difference is that OKRs is designed to help us visualize new ambitious goals, something we want to change in the way we live. At the same time, the KPIs are usually helping us to measure the business as usual, what we do on everyday basis. Let me introduce an example from my experience here. So let's assume we are a big outsourcing company, software outsourcing, and what we actually sell is man hours or like teams, dedicated teams to our customers. And very important metrics for us is the growth in headcount. And usually we grow 20% every year, hiring alumni of our local universities. That's our way we work, we build for years, right? So this sounds like our KPI. We assume that in the next year, we want to grow the same 20%, doing already known thing. But what if on top of that 20%, we want to try merger and acquisition for the first time ever? We never did this. We cannot set the goal and punish ourselves if we don't achieve that. But we want to align our organization towards this ambitious goal and to define key results, how we will understand whether this acquisition was successful or not, so on and so forth. So we try and we learn, we experiment, we do something new. And naturally, you may guess, after several cycles, if we succeed in our merger and acquisition as an OKR, it may set a new KPI for us. It will become later our business as usual. Whether like when it becomes no more inspirational goal, but we understand and learn how to do it. That's the main difference. And from this, the second difference appears. For OKR, the sweet spot to achieve is 70%. Because if we try to forecast yesterday's weather to be like 100% successful in our OKRs, we don't leave ourselves space for risk and innovation. And at the same time, for KPIs, it's normal to aim to achieve 100% of what we committed because it's known and business as usual. The third difference is that naturally OKRs are action-oriented objectives, while KPIs are numbers providing us a benchmark or a health check, like where we are with our business as usual. And those naturally OKRs, like key results in OKRs, should be formulated with leading indicators, showing us upfront in advance whether we are moving into desired direction or not, while KPIs tend to be rather lagging indicators, showing whether something good or bad already happened. And that's why, by the nature of OKRs and KPIs, OKRs have fixed cadence in the future. We plan for like quarter, a year, or whatever cadence. We'll discuss it a little bit later with Vlad. But KPIs at the same time should be generously, constantly measured on an ongoing basis, right? That's it. That's the difference. And that's why we should not choose between like either KPIs or OKRs. We should apply both goal setting systems within our single organization. KPIs for like established processes, OKRs for experiments, and there is interconnection. When we achieve something with an OKR, it can become our KPI. If the KPI went bad, we may introduce an OKR trying to fix this. That's how they work together. The OKR to meet this initial goal should be not forgotten since it set for a year, right? It should have its heartbeat life cycle of cadence. So there is no unified rule for how do we plan the OKR life cycle, but in general, we usually set the yearly goals, the yearly objectives and key results, share them within the organization, let lower levels, program levels and team levels generate and communicate their own OKRs. They have the freedom to generate some OKRs bottom to top, not top to bottom. So not necessarily all their OKRs should be connected and aligned with our high-level OKRs. And then we have a quarterly review of the OKR progress. And one other important thing is that we have OKR sync on a regular basis. Like whatever the cadence, we can do it like once a week or once in 2 weeks, whatever. It depends on the lifestyle and life cycle of our organization. But we should time to time gather the OKR team together, define and capture the progress on the key results, provide a confidence rating, confidence score on a piece of 5, like 1 to 5, how sure we are that we are going to achieve this or that goal. And if the confidence is pretty low, what are we going to do to fix the situation? As simple as that. So the extremely lightweight approach, easy to implement and helping us to achieve the transparency and to focus on what is important. And with this being said, let's switch to the trends. So what can be new in the OKRs framework, which is so simple? First of all, as we already mentioned, more and more companies tend to say that OKRs should not necessarily be cascaded top to bottom. They are rather aligned than cascaded. So high level of organization provides the context, the desire, the direction, but allows the broader organization to generate their own objectives and key results, which are definitely aligned with the main objectives, but they're not strictly cascaded. So it doesn't necessarily mean that our team level OKR is tied to particular this or that objective or key result of our boss. This picture, by the way, is it's borrowed from Ben Lamore's book, the OKRs Field Book, which is one of the best studies on our AgileLAB opinion in the OKR world right now. It was published less than a year ago in spring, and we will provide the link to this book in the description. And there are some other trends and tendencies in the OKRs mentioned in the same book, and we met the same behaviors in our practice, so we agree with them and want to share that individual level of OKRs is considered questionable practice or optional. So more and more organizations tend to stop cascading or aligning OKRs on team levels. We have organization level, branch level, or team of teams level, or tribe level, or whatever level. And we have the particular teams, OKR teams level, and we stop cascading. We don't set the OKRs for peers, for particular workers. Another trend is that organizations tend to do more thorough implementation, disregarding the fact that framework seems extremely straightforward and simple. If our employees are not used to do something new and something ambitious and to change our organization, and if they don't have this growth mindset, and it's difficult to implement OKRs right away, straight away, perfectly. That's why we do several iterations. We introduce OKRs in crawl, walk, run, fly manner to the new organization because of the organizational dynamics, like transformational dynamics. The third trend is that by defining OKRs as a critical thinking framework, not just the goal-setting framework, we can make the OKRs applicable in various scenarios in organizations which formally don't use OKRs for goal setting. So, for example, while building hypotheses for our backlog, we can use the OKR format to describe our hypotheses so that we can arrange them based on how ambitious they are, how feasible they are, and so on. Vlad will talk a little bit in more details about that, like mentioning the place of OKRs in Scaled Agile framework. The fourth trend is that organizations tend to focus on smaller amount of OKRs because when everything is of high importance, then like nothing is really important, right? And if previously in previous years we talked about like 5 ± 2 objectives for any particular level, now we tend to talk about like 3 is enough, 5 is maximum, 3 to 5 objectives and key results for cadence for team. Also, to make it more lightweight, we're replacing detailed objective description with just why now question and answer to this question more and more often. And the very interesting tendency is that the cadence grows. So instead of quarterly OKR planning 4 quarters per year, some companies tend to do 3-4 months cadence per year. Taking into account the Christmas Eve and the festive season, somewhere like in the middle of summer, it leaves us with 4 periods with more or less like equal workload planned for them. And it allows us more space to actually progress to truly ambitious goals. And like with this being said, in some companies, they even cancel the quarterly OKRs. For example, like Google excluded quarterly OKRs and focused on yearly OKRs with just quarterly progress review from them. So the tendency, the trend is that the cadence is bigger and OKRs are used for more holistic view, not for like very low details, plans and cherry picking of tasks. These are the trends, and we want then to talk about roles in OKRs and particularly about the role of the OKR coach. What?
Yeah, so basically we have a couple of roles in OKR framework. And again, just to remind that it's not only a goal setting framework, it's also, today we call OKR as a critical thinking framework. And we have around 7 roles. It's, maybe accountabilities even, because, it's not only about roles, it's also about accountabilities. So it can look a little bit too much from one hand side, but from another hand side, it all makes sense. And it also introduce closing all the feedback loops and communication aspect of OKR framework. So let's probably dive deep into them one by one. So basically, we have executive sponsor. I won't read the details. I just want to give a brief explanation of what all these roles means. So executive sponsor is a person who actually is a champion for OKR framework adoption inside the organization. So he brings the energy, he brings the budget, he's promoting OKR framework approach. And yeah, so you need them, like to kick off such a massive organizational change, you definitely need executive sponsor. The other interesting thing about executive sponsor, sorry, Andy, bring me back for a second. He also presents top-level OKRs in the company-wide meetings. That's interesting one. Sometimes people don't expect him to do it, but that's really important. Like, you need to do what you're promoting, right? And it's leading by example. And we, in the OKR framework, on the successful OKR framework implementation, we expect executive sponsor to lead by example. So he not only sponsoring and starting the OKR framework inside the organization, but he's actively participating in it. Let's move further. Our next role is, and you can switch the slide. Yes, we have OKR coaches. Basically, OKR framework separate or distinguish in-house and external OKR coach. It's not mandatory that you will have both of them, but again, if you will align it with Agile framework, you can have in-house Agile coach, or you can have external Agile coaches. So basically, external OKR coach is a deployment champion. So he's responsible to come and educate teams how to use OKR framework, educate leaders. He's responsible to kick off the OKR cycles, and he is responsible for transformation that will happen as you roll it out OKR framework inside the organization. So, meanwhile, internal OKR coach is also doing the same thing from one hand side. So he is also providing training, or he's attending OKR training session, he's providing OKR training sessions, but in the same time, he will support the OKR framework as it will progress and emerge inside the organization after external folks will leave the company. So basically, it's a direct analogy with Agile coach in our corporate environment. OKR project lead, that's interesting one. OKR project lead is person who's responsible to make OKR implementation successful. So like when you compare OKR project lead and OKR executive sponsor, it's just different roles. Sponsor is say, hey, we need it, he promote it, and he will give a budget for it and give an energy for it. But OKR project leads is our transformation champion. It's a person who is actually driving the OKR framework implementation. So that's a core idea. Like I would say from Agile terminology, he's kind of product owner of OKR framework implementation inside the organization. HR leads, that's a critical function, honestly, and critical role, because if and when you introduce OKR inside the organization, it definitely impacts the annual performance cycle, annual goal settings, or quarter goal setting. And also it's about the motivation, it's about the salaries, compensation. It's also about the org structures, because to be successful with OKR implementation, it also impacts the changes inside the org structure. And in this case, you definitely need HR lead support. Coordinator is a direct analogy with Scrum Masters. Let me say it this way, because OKR coordinator is a person who coordinates the schedule of the OKR sessions, cycles, and he's making sure that the OKR team works in alignment with OKR cycles and OKR cadences. The word that, in Agile world, we use the word cadence. In OKR worlds, the more popular term is a heartbeat, the regular cadence of events, of OKR events. Key result champion, it's interesting one because accountable doesn't mean that the entire team is accountable. It can be the case, and it's all it's most often the case that people is accountable for something, and we have objective and key result champion. So again, direct analogy is kind of accountable to making sure this happens. So and sometimes they can be represented as some leads, some technical leads. Sometimes it can be product owners, who has some area of responsibility inside the team or accountability. Yeah. So team lead is actually lead of OKR team. OKR team is not always equal to Agile team. Sometimes it can be product team, sometimes it can be executive management team, but there is a process authority person who is owning the team dynamic, and that's OKR team lead. And team member, yeah. So if you are in the team who has OKRs, you also have your own responsibilities, like members on the Agile team. The same thing here, as a member of OKR team. So, and let's put all together. When we think about these roles or accountabilities, it sounds really similar with Agile world, but let's try to put it all together and see how it really combines. So first of all, there is a good example from Scaled Agile framework. So basically, when we are working on the enterprise level and we're building solutions, we have strategy. We define strategy on the organizational level, and to implement the strategy, to bridge the gap between the strategy and execution, we have a strategic teams. And strategic teams is actually is a source of portfolio level epics in the Scaled Agile framework. So top level element from the hierarchy of the requirements in SAFe. And actually they define it in the OKR language. So that's exactly OKRs that implement strategy. At the same time, after that, they get cascaded into the particular chunk of work like epics. And it's also happened that the part of why or why now statement in epic level is described using OKR language. So there is a direct connection how OKRs is cascaded in Scaled Agile framework, for example. It really makes a lot of sense. And there are some mechanics on the essential level, on the Agile release train level, that's also really OKR-like. Like we have regular cadence of goal setting, quarter goal setting, or cycle goal setting, or for program increment planning. And we have team goals for the program increment that most of the cases equal to the quarter, and we have a cadence of regular system demos of the cross-team collaboration to see where we are. So it's kind of natural already, even the OKR language is not used on the team level and Agile release train level in Scaled Agile framework. Meanwhile, the more interesting area is actually SAFe is promoting us to look at OKRs as the way to set up the goals for Agile transformation. Like transformation is a product. That means we can use the same way, it's like moon jump, as Andy mentioned, to try to see what we're trying to achieve, not a regular business as usual, but what we're trying to achieve by making Agile transformation or making Scaled Agile framework implementations as an organization. And we are able to set the goals of big goals or ambitious goals using OKR language as well. And that sounds logical, but that's really powerful too. Here is this example that, okay, from the portfolio level view, like portfolio strategic team is written in the OKR language, and like objective, it's just example from SAFe. Achieve whatever, like achieve something. But this is more interesting. That's a great visualization that answers the questions that trigger a lot of OKR coaches, like how to deal with OKRs in parallel to KPI. Like what is distinguish between OKR and KPIs, where we should stay with KPIs and where we should go with OKRs. So in theory, yeah, like roof jump and moon jump to see the difference, business as usual versus really grow the business. But in the same time, what it really means on the planning and execution and the, critical thinking feedback loop point of view. And that's a great visualization. So basically we're saying that, okay, strategy is implemented by strategic teams. Strategic teams are described in the OKR language, like we have our teams like objective and key results. In the same time, the job is done, the change job is done by the development value streams. So people are doing something new that change the way how we operate. As a result of development value stream execution, we have some business KPIs that we can measure. So basically, altogether, there is this mix and match. From one hand side, we have a key results that we want to achieve from OKRs. In the same time, we have run the business KPIs that we need to achieve by executing development value stream. And altogether, they become unified metrics ecosystem for value stream, in SAFe it called value stream KPIs. But now you can see how they are all match together. Like first three can be our strategic or ambitious objectives, like we wanna double our customer base, or we wanna, launch new strategic regions that we never operated before. And at the same time, as Andy mentioned, we want to maintain 20% of growth in the existing regions. And all these metrics combined into the one ecosystem is actually combining KPIs and OKRs framework together. I hope it makes sense. And the cycles, end-to-end cycles that you can see here is actually inspection and adoption cycle. So it's our core cycle in Agile. So we're trying to do something, we measure the result, and we adopt on it and to see what needs to be changed, what we need to update on our strategic teams, what we need to update in our strategic teams' key results in order to make it, viable, feasible, in order to the metrics will help us to grow our business further. In the same time, OKRs is also a part, one of the practice from Management 3.0. So Management 3.0 also encourage to have OKRs as an element of, healthy metrics, and also talks about metrics ecosystems, like 12 principles of metrics ecosystem. So again, feel free to find more about it on Management 3.0 website. It's publicly available. The other interesting example I want to quickly cover is Spotify rhythm that get promoted by Henrik Nieberg. And you can think about it as like Spotify rhythms is actually kind of combination of OKR approach and Kanban system, enterprise Kanban system. So basically what they're saying, it's just a nutshell. You can find a detailed video, but just to see how it's all connect together. You can see that basically in Spotify, how they describe it, they have some company beliefs, and that's what Andy was referring originally when he was talking about the iceberg of the goals. So we have some long-term goals, long-term visions. After that, we have our North Star goals. Maybe some of you is aware of North Star metrics mechanics, known from marketing, from digital marketing. So it's our metrics and measures that we're trying to improve to grow our product. And here's a great idea to have the North Star as not only as a metric that you measure, but as a goal that you're trying to achieve. And after that, you have stack ranks of bets, big bets that you are trying to do that will help you to achieve North Stars. And that's interesting because, again, in order to set OKRs, you need some high-level stuff like vision, mission, and sometimes North Star goals is a great mechanics to help to build the alignment of your inside organization. Also, Spotify is promoting data-driven framework, just to mention. So it's not out of the blue. All our beliefs and bets should be data-driven. It's all connected into the systems. So you have tracking system. It's also kind of natural. Next one is interesting. So basically, why I'm saying that it's really a mix and match between OKR framework and enterprise Kanban system, because company big bets is aligned with a tribe or agile release train bets through the cascaded Kanban boards. So you have something that you're doing now, something you want to do next, and something they're going to do later. Now and next, most of the cases is quarters or OKR cycles. Can be, as Andy mentioned, can be annual, can be 4 months, depends on what you're doing in your company. But it's kind of ways of planning inside the organization. You have something on the enterprise level, on the company level, that get cascaded into the product development organization, that get cascaded into the teams of teams as a tribes or agile release train. And the same in the parallel, this is how they overcome the problem of putting OKRs and KPIs inside the same system. In parallel, they have content revenue marketing metrics that are actually represented by KPIs, like something like run business as usual activity. So putting all together for any agile specialist is quite straightforward. So you have hierarchy of the requirements, you have visualization, you have feedback loops, you know what you're doing now in this quarter, you know what's planned for the next quarter, and everything else is a rolling wave planning with can be multi-years roadmap of what you're trying to achieve by doing that bets. And bets equal to OKRs in this point of view. Okay, so let's talk for extra materials you can find, and after that we will check questions. We have a couple of books here. So again, we have OKR practitioner training. Feel free to join. It's OKR beginner's guide. It's publicly available ebook about OKRs. Great to read. Rework from Google. And OKRs field book by Lamorta. Again, we really promote this book. It's a great guide with the latest trends and latest information. So I guess it's more or less that's it for today. I'm just checking quickly questions. I have a couple of questions. So first question is, how long does it take to implement OKR inside the organization? Andy, what do you think?
Again, it actually depends. So if the organization is individual proprietor size, like organization of myself, I can do it in 2 days. But jokes aside, so for pretty big organizations, it should take like at least a couple of weeks for thoroughful preparation for launching the OKR cycle, as we actually did with Vlad a couple of times at the end of the previous year, helping organizations to first learn and understand the theory, how OKRs align with KPIs, with balanced scorecards or other metrics which organizations are already used to. Then we leave some time and space for people to think over about it. And then we start a practical workshop helping them to brainstorm and generate the proper OKRs. So we have training for formulating really strong and powerful OKRs, which are inspiring, ambitious, and at the same time exact and concrete enough. So we spent another 2 days, maybe with teams, trying to set the first OKRs, and then we just need to follow the rule, right? Yeah. So throughout the year, we need to set up a cadence, a heartbeat, a life cycle, and honestly, usually for the first cycle, should it be quarter or 4 months, we can actively help, and then like later, organization comes to self-managed, like sustainable flow of OKRs review. The only important thing is that OKRs shouldn't be drafted somewhere, even perfectly, and forgotten for a year. So OKRs should be explicitly visualized, and they should live somewhere in the same tracking system where your actions live. In this case, you can implement it pretty fast. If you just draft them and don't seed them somewhere in your tracking system, they will properly die again fast enough.
Yeah, but the tracking OKRs, the most popular tool to track OKRs is a Google Sheet or any kind of shared table when you can just read it. So yeah, it can be Kanban boards, it can be Mira, Mural, whatever you're using. Yep. So any other question? I see, just looking to the questions that was posted. Another question is, are Agile coach and OKR coach, is it the same person? Can it be the same person? How they all combined together? That's a good one. I would say OKR coach is a person who is aware how OKR framework works, as well as Agile coach as a person who is aware how Agile framework works. So basically, it definitely can be one person with a competency, but you need to practice and master the competency. You have different level. As Andy mentioned, you can crawl, walk, run, and fly level, and it just really depends where you are right now and what's your mastery level in OKR frameworks, and can organization benefit out of it. Anything else we want to add, guys? Maybe some other thoughts? Yep. Okay. I think that was more or less all the question, at least popular one. So thank you, everybody. Please subscribe and see you soon. We plan to deliver this kind of webinars on the monthly cadence. So in this case, thank you and see you soon. Have a nice evening.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm stopping the recording, guys.